say what you want to say about Jerrell Miller, and we've all said our fair share over the years because of the multiple failed tests, the lack of remorse and so on, but he is a fantastic trash talker. I know not everybody likes trash talk, but personally I do like it when it's done right, and to me, this is trash talk done right. He's bombastic, he's vulgar at times, but he's humorous with it. I find this kind of stuff very, very entertaining, very funny. I was a fan of Muhammad Ali growing up in the 1980s. Obviously, he stopped fighting in the very early 80s, but I used to watch VHS tapes of him. And I was a fan not just because of his ability in the ring, but because of his trash talking, bombastic personality outside of it. Okay, so Miller, again, whatever you think about him, whether you think he should have been banned for life, whatever the case may be, he was the life and soul of this press conference. He lit up Anthony Joshua like a Christmas tree at the press conference again. Sky have never released that face-off between AJ and Jerrell Miller, which we all hope to see one day. AJ says he might put that out when his career is said and done. But yeah, I'll talk about that in a separate video in terms of the AJ Miller exchange. But Miller is fighting Daniel Dubois on the Saudi card December 23rd. I think it's an intriguing fight, one of the most intriguing fights on this show. Now, Eddie Hearn said something about Gervonta Davis back in the days, and it was words to the effect of, because Davis, in Eddie Hearn's view, is not a very deep thinker, that actually helps him because he doesn't overthink and therefore suffer with anxiety when he's going into a big fight. And I do think that generally, this is not a hard, fast rule, but generally, deep thinkers are more prone to anxiety because they're constantly analyzing everything and thinking about every little detail of what's just happened. And as I say, that can lead to them overthinking and becoming worried. Whereas somebody who's not such a deep thinker, who's more in the moment, they are less prone to anxiety generally. Okay, not hard, fast rule, but generally. And I think that Daniel Dubois fits into that category. He's coming off a loss to Usyk. He's lost twice now and quit twice, but he didn't seem particularly disturbed to me at the press conference. He was there with this loudmouth, brash American Jerrell Miller saying all types of disrespectful things about him. But I was looking at Daniel Dubois' body language, I was looking at his demeanor and so on and so forth, and I didn't see a fighter who looked shook. I didn't see a fighter who looked anxious. I saw a fighter who looked confident, who actually looked like he was happy to be there, and he was enjoying himself at a press conference. Yeah, even though Daniel Dubois is not a good talker and he stutters and all that kind of thing, he's like that whether he's fighting a journeyman or whether he's fighting Alexander. It don't matter. He's always like that. But I thought from a psychological perspective, what I saw from Daniel Dubois was good. And even at the face-off, when they were staring at each other, Daniel Dubois had that same intense look in his eyes, looking at Jerrell Miller. He wasn't turning away or anything like that. So I like what I saw. Now, I said in the previous video where I talked about this fight that if Jerrell Miller is even 70% of what he used to be, I think he's going to beat Daniel Dubois. But there's no knowing whether he is 70% of what he used to be or more, because presumably, and we need to get confirmation from members of Daniel Dubois' team on this, presumably there's some type of PED testing protocol in place to make sure that Big Baby Miller isn't juiced up to the eyeballs once again, because he's proven that he is a repeat offender and he's absolutely brazen with it. He's never apologized for what he's done in the past, to my recollection anyway. So it's imperative that they put some PED testing protocol in place. And if we get an apparently clean Jerrell Miller, how different is he from the juiced up Jerrell Miller? Does he have the same level of stamina? Can he have the same punch output? Can he take the same kind of shot as he could when he was juiced up? We don't know yet. And also, Jerrell Miller is 35 years of age? He's getting on. So although he's unbeaten, he isn't exactly a guy that takes the best care of himself from a physical standpoint. I mean, you talk about fighters taking punishment in the ring and so on and so forth. Jerrell Miller has taken a fair amount of punishment because he's not the most elusive fighter in the world. He's dominated just about everybody he's been in the ring with, but he takes his fair share of shots, and that cumulatively does do damage, right? But on top of that, you wonder what the effect of taking all those substances might be on Jerrell Miller. You wonder whether there'll be some negative side effects of that, which will eventually show themselves in the ring. So there's a lot of question marks here, and that's why it's such an intriguing fight for me. But as I say, if Jerrell Miller is even 70% of what he was, I would pick him to beat Daniel Dubois. I'm certainly not counting Daniel Dubois out. Maybe he goes in there and sticks that ramrod jab on Jerrell Miller throws the big straight right hand down the pipe. We know he's going to be a lot more mobile than Miller. We know he's physically strong himself. It remains to be seen whether he can compete with the physical strength and just the sheer size of Miller in terms of his body mass, obviously. I think Daniel Dubois is slightly taller, not sure where the reach is. So it's going to be a very, very interesting one. Daniel Dubois, box ticked as far as I'm concerned from a psychological perspective. He doesn't come across as a deep thinker to me, no disrespect to him. And he seems like Jerrell Miller said, to have a battery in his back right now. Jerrell Miller seems to think that it's the new trainer, Don Charles. I think Daniel Dubois is still with Don Charles. I'm wondering whether it's his new girlfriend. Because I've never seen Daniel Dubois even talk about girls before. Now he's got a girlfriend that he's showing off on his Instagram. Maybe he's just lost his V. It puts that pep in your step. So that's my thoughts on the press conference between, or the exchange at the press conference between Daniel Dubois and Jerrell Miller. All very entertaining. And there were some people saying that Daniel Dubois' trash talk is cringe. Well, it's always been cringe, right? But that's part, at least with this press conference, that was part of the entertainment. The fact that Daniel Dubois' responses were so cringe and so poor compared to Miller's, it made it more funny, to me at least. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below.